Yes, I'll do that. Yeah. You
Got it? I got it. Yep.
All right. Welcome everybody to week something or other of week 5 of Get Over Your Damn Self. So excited. We're covering chapter 5, how I talked my way into 7 figures and how you can too. I would like 7 figures. That's a lot. I'm thinking income. I'd like a 7-figure income. That'd be fun. All right. Okay. So, Jenny, would you like to get started for us?
Certainly.
Thank you.
All right. Excuse me. We've already established that to grow a big business, you're going to have to talk to a lot of people. That's what I did. I speak from experience when I say earning $1 million in this profession ain't easy. It's hard work, consistent work. It takes thousands of conversations with people you know, people you're going to meet, and people your team will introduce you to. That's what I did. First, I talked my way into earning my investment back. Then I talked my way into matching my PR income, then retiring John from clinical medicine. Ultimately, I talked my way into a 7-figure income. And guess what? So can you. So if you've gotten this far in the book and the thought of having thousands of conversations with people makes you run for the hills, this may not be the right fit for you. And you might want to give this book to one of your team members. But before you do, let's dig a little deeper. The whole thousands of conversation thing, let's figure out what part makes you feel queasy. If the ick factor comes from you just not liking people enough to want to talk to everyone you know, everyone you meet, and everyone you get connected to all the time, then I applaud you for being honest with yourself. And I'm going to be honest with you. You probably won't build a 7-figure income unless you're one of those magical unicorns. And I'm really sorry you're not on our team. But maybe, just maybe, after you stick with me through the next few chapters, I can help you fall in love with talking to people. Maybe we can transform you into someone who gets all energized and lit up by interacting with other humans and connecting them with products and a business that can enhance or even change their lives. Maybe you're having feelings of dread because you're so unsure of what to say to people that the thought of having to struggle through that many conversations seems like a never-ending session of Chinese water torture or worse. That's not a problem, truly, because I'm going to teach you how to talk to people in a compelling, authentic, and organic way. Does the thought of talking to thousands exhaust you? As in, how can I ever talk to that many people? That's like building the Golden Gate Bridge or carving Mount Rushmore. This doesn't worry me either, because once you get the hang of this, you're talking all the time and having fun doing it. Like you, I started out as a party of one. Then I started talking to people and finding those who wanted to use the products and those who wanted to come play with me. Then I taught those folks how to do the same thing. Add customers and team members, and the crazy duplication started to happen. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When I first started reaching out to people about my new business, I sucked. I talked too much, asked too few questions, listened too little, and spewed off too many facts. I even had someone critique me after my monologue. Next time you might want to take a breath and ask a question or two so you know if the person you're talking to is actually there. Here's the great news. Even though I was horrible and I didn't know what I was doing, I started to build a team and a customer base. In fact, the first person I ever reached out to joined me in my business less than a week later and has become one of our MVPs and one of the top leaders in our entire company. Thank you, Nicole Cormany. Reach out rules to live by. You likely have scripts and talking points from your company's training department and from your upline coaches, and they're probably really good. Yet I have a feeling that they're probably focused on facts. What I started to learn as I got more comfortable talking to people is how much more effective I could be in conversations by not pummeling them with facts and by following some simple ironclad rules. When you follow these rules, you'll connect authentically and emotionally with people and find it much easier to have conversations that resonate with your prospects. You'll also find the process more purposeful and efficient. So here they are. Reach out rules. Rule number 1, don't be attached to the outcome of any one conversation. 2, don't be on the hunt. 3, less is more. 4, be authentic. 5, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. 6, if you find yourself convincing, stop it. 7, listen, really listen. 8, work from appointment to appointment. 9, don't count your chickens. 10, lead with the business, default to the products. 11, don't leave rambling voicemails. Rule number 12, lead with what's in it for them, WIIFT. Rule 13, if it's a no to the business, ask for referrals. And 14, don't end the conversation without talking about becoming a customer. Want to keep going? Okay. Rule number 1, don't be attached to the outcome of any one conversation. Our job is to talk to people all the time, constantly introducing people to our business and products or services. Our job is to get a lot of no's because this, friends, really is a numbers game. If you allow the no's to disappoint you, it will slow you down. If you allow the maybes to give you false hope, it will slow you down. You can't let any one conversation or any one person slow you down or distract you from your goals. Rule 2, don't be on the hunt. This one may sound counterintuitive, but it's essential to the success of your business and to having authentic conversations. If your intention is, who am I going to get today? Then I'm quite certain you'll be more focused on your own agenda than on listening to the people you talk to. You'll also run the risk of coming across pushy or desperate. Instead, adopt an intention of, I have something special to share and I'm looking for people who want what I have to offer. It's not just a gimmick when we say we're not salespeople, but share people. Sharing is really what we all do, all over the place. As share people, we don't focus on what we can get from others. Instead, we're curious about others' lives, hopes, and desires, and generally interested in giving information, giving solutions, and if it's a good fit, giving mentoring. If someone doesn't want it, then there's no disappointment because you weren't after anything in the first place. And this will help you with rule number 1, not being attached to the outcome of any one conversation. In our profession, our job is not to get what we want, it's to help other people get what they want. This applies to our customers and our team members. The success you're seeking will happen when you help a lot of people get what they want. Rule 3, less is more. In our conversations, less is more. It's like dating. When you start seeing someone, you don't want to show too much skin right away. You don't want to be a slut. It's the same when we have a conversation about our business. You don't want to be a prospecting slut. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that if you tell your prospect everything you know about your business and your products or services, that she'll be wowed by your command of the subject and be convinced that your sharing is the greatest thing since the invention of Spanx. You run the risk of overwhelming or boring her, or even worse. So please, no verbal vomit. Think instead of whetting your prospect's appetite. Tell them enough relevant information about the business and the products to simply get them to take a closer look, to get them to the next step, to get them to want the next date. When you're having conversations, ask yourself, am I talking too much? Am I being a prospecting slut right now? That part made me laugh whenever I was reading it. Number 4, be authentic. Don't try and sound like me or anybody else. Your power, everyone's power, comes from being authentically you. People respond to people who are real. You're simply a human being who has something to offer. All you're trying to figure out is if any of those things are of value to the human being you're talking to. When I think about all the incredibly successful leaders in our company, they're all unique, uniquely themselves. They're not trying to be or sound like anyone else. They let their personalities come through in conversations, presentations, and on social media. One moment, please, while I turn down all the noise. And their networks respond to them because they know it's not BS. Be you, be prepared, confident you. That's where your power lies. Number 5, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. The fact that Nicole joined me in business after my pathetic first attempt to explain what I was doing, how great these products are, and what I thought it was going to do for me proves this rule. Unbridled enthusiasm can go a long way, which is one of the reasons why you want to talk live to people instead of hiding behind emails, texts, or direct messages. Don't let the fear of not saying everything perfectly keep you from reaching out. I love that Tony Robbins has to say about being perfect. Perfection is the absolute lowest standard you can have for yourself because it's impossible to attain. This quest for perfection leads to a chicken and egg problem. You can't get better if you don't talk to people, but you're afraid to talk to people because you're not good enough. While you're running around in circles in your head, someone else will reach out to the people on your list and acquire them as customers or business partners. If someone is looking for what you have to offer and it's the right time for them, they'll bite. It turned out that Nicole's employer was having issues paying his employees, so she was looking for a flexible part-time gig that she could work around her 2 daughters. She wasn't finding much, and then I called. So can I say something about that before we go any further? Well, it was the other one too, about being yourself. I think that we do that to ourselves a lot. is try to sound like someone else, and there's nothing wrong with using somebody else's words if you make them yours. And then a lot of the people on my team, when they first start, they're like, oh, I can't do a Facebook party right now, or before I couldn't do a party right now. I don't know enough about the products. And I always said, you know more than the people you're talking to. That was always my thing. You're bound to know something they don't know. Because when I started my first party, I didn't know anything about anything. I knew how to use the breakfast maker, so that's what I used. Everything else sat there. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jenny. Because yeah, I didn't really know much about the product, and I always thought I liked her unbridled enthusiasm. I called it ignorance on fire. Because I was excited, but I didn't really know what I was excited about. I just was excited and want to tell people about being excited about the business or the products or whatever. And that's the way new consultants are. And that's why it's so important for us to like strike while the iron's hot. Right after they say yes, they're excited. They're all of a sudden, even if they just want a discount, they maybe they're envisioning how amazing their cupboards are going to look after they made them. Or maybe they are kind of thinking in the back of their head, like, oh, well, maybe I'm not going to tell anybody, but maybe I could do this, and so it's great to make sure to like reach out to them then and kind of get them more excited, and who can they invite into the business? It's one of those sort of things. So yeah, I love that. And you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Absolutely. And that's where I struggle when people ask for verbiage. Jenny doesn't like that word, so I had to use it. All right. So when people ask for word choices, I struggle with that because my word choices are always very whatever, I mean, truly, and I've said many times when I reached out to Lori Morris, I was like, hey, I really want you on my team. I think you would be great in this business. You can get some free knives and stuff, but it doesn't matter. I just really want you on my team. And that's pretty much word for word, literally what I said. So when people ask me for word choices, I'm like, well, if that would come out of your mouth, then say it. But if it won't, you're going to sound really like blasé about the whole thing, So yeah, I agree with that.
The funny thing is the exact opposite is true too. If that's how you normally talk to people in a very just conversational, very relaxed, and you start with this rote like note card written out speech for graduation or something, it comes across as incredibly insincere.
Yeah.
And they know what you're talking about. And see, that's one of the things about the products. Like Jenny, you said you use the breakfast maker. That's perfect. Become an expert in one item. You don't have to learn everything about all the items in the kit at the same time. If somebody asks you, I don't know, I can either look it up and get back to you, or I can make up an answer. Which do you prefer?
Yeah.
Right. I would say that.
Which do you prefer?
Exactly.
I would definitely say that.
I would be like, just make something up. I want to hear what you say.
I can make it up. I think it's made out of
fun
plastic. It's premium plastic. What's it called? PP.
The rhubarb coloring is the rarest in the world. You'll never see any other product line carried by any company.
But when they talk about like talking to people, and I know that that's a really big thing right now with people that, oh, well, I just want to text, or I just want to, email or something like that. But if you talk to somebody that's really excited about something, there's no way that can come across in a text. And the other day, because I love Ellen's daughter, okay? I just love Ella. And I talked to her the other day, and I asked her how tennis was, and her entire voice changed. I mean, we had been talking about all kinds of things, but all of a sudden, I had touched on the one thing that she could tell me everything. And she was telling me things I did not even understand, but she was so excited. I didn't care that I understood. I was just like, this is so cool. And she's talking about, well, my strokes and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, oh, all I meant was, how'd your tournament go? But okay.
She's like racket speed and
She
angle.
was,
Like,
she
yeah.
was just like, and then my coach said this, and I could do this, and I could do, and the other girl, and I'm just like, that's awesome, girlfriend. I love it. But you could just tell, and when you hit on something that somebody is passionate about, you can tell.
Mhm.
Now if I had asked her the same thing about, how's softball going, she'd have been like, yeah, they won.
I like softball.
I don't like softball. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm a big person on phone calls,
Mhm.
and I've started using the voice message in my chat group too.
Mhm. Yeah, that's pretty powerful because of the sound of your voice, but also it's that further connection because let's face it, we have people on our teams right now that we've never met face to face that have never heard the sound of our voice if they haven't listened to a training or been on anything like that. And so the fact of like this, the actual sound of your voice just helps them feel more connected to you, you know?
The new people on my team over the weekend, I talked to them all and I sent them all a text first because first off, my phone number is weird and nobody answers it if they don't know it's me. But so I sent him a text and I said, "Hey, this is Jenny, the director on Toptastics, blah, 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 blah. And I would love to talk to you this weekend." And I did the whole, does 10 Saturday morning or 5 Saturday evening work for you? And they, all but one of them text me back with a time. It might not have been my times, but with a time. But when I called the one lady, she goes, "So do you call everybody?" I said, "I absolutely do." And she goes, "Really?" And I said, "Well, here's the thing. After you talk to me for just a couple minutes right now, when you read my text, you will know that sometimes I'm being very sarcastic and I want you to hear that in the text because I don't want you to think that I'm being a snot or a bitch. I'm just being me." And she just started laughing and she goes, "Oh, I could get that."
Yeah, it's true. I mean, how many times do you know somebody, right? And it's somebody you usually talk face to face, and they send you a text, and you read the text in their voice, and it was just, yeah. I have a Canadian friend, and there's something about the cadence of her voice that just amuses me. And I was texting her the other day, and something she said, and it was just this funny little phrase, and I totally knew exactly how it would have come out of her mouth had we been face to face. And it's just and even like even text messages from my southern relatives, I read it in their
With y'all.
yeah, I read it with their accent. And it is, so that's the power of our voice. So yeah, even if you aren't into doing phone calls and stuff, you can still kind of bridge that gap using the voice message stuff. So it's a
Well,
good thing.
if somebody said, if you read one of those things, even on Facebook, that says, "I wish Morgan Freeman narrated my life," or it's something like that, and you can hear him. You can
There,
you
yeah.
can hear him when you read it. You hear him, and so
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah, you don't even like. I mean, think about it. All the voiceovers that's a great example. All the voiceovers that he does, you don't see his face, but you know who he is. And it's just like, and sometimes you see a character that he previously played.
yeah.
His voice is that powerful, and so yeah, it's significant, definitely.
Okay,
Awesome.
we'll read again then.
Okay.
Rule
Number 6.
6: if you find yourself convincing, stop it. Avoid going into convincing mode because it's unproductive at best and a total turnoff at worst. I frequently hear business builders lament, "I need to convince somebody to jump in." I learned early on in my business that we don't want to convince anyone of anything. How do you know if you're in convincing mode, you wonder? If it feels like you're trying to drag your prospect to a purchase or enrollment, you're in convincing mode. I promise you it won't end well. Dragging people to make a decision in our favor ends up slowing us down and gives that poor person rug burn. It makes them want to run for the hills in the other direction. And if they actually purchase from us or join our team, they don't want to be there because it really wasn't their decision. If you find yourself in convincing mode, you're likely not asking the right questions to connect them with what this really could do for them, or they're just not ready. Rule 7: listen, really listen. As important as it is to talk to people with the right posture, tone, to hit the right points and tell a compelling story, it's equally important to listen because you can only learn about who they are, what they want, and what they fear when you give them room to talk and you really listen. The more you know about your prospect, the more you can show them why what you have to offer fits what they're looking for. Work from appointment to appointment. When our team members complain that they feel like they're chasing prospects once they've started conversations with them, there's always one cause. They're not setting up the next conversation appointment while they're talking to their prospect. Sometimes it's because they simply forget to do this important step, or are they afraid of being pushy? Being professional is never pushy. Your time is valuable, and so is your prospects. As soon as a prospect enters your funnel, work from appointment to appointment, and usually no more than 24 to 48 hours apart, as you guide her through the process of determining how she'll fit into your business now as a team member, a customer, and or a referral source. Setting the next appointment during your current touch point will make for a much more efficient and enjoyable process for both you and your prospect. Don't count your chickens. It's compelling to want to put a tally mark in the win column before a team member actually enrolls or a customer makes a purchase. Don't do it. I know from experience, many experiences, that they ain't in until they're in. If you prematurely count that chicken, you'll slow down your prospecting. Rule 10, lead with business, default to products. It's simply much more effective to lead with a business discussion, pivot to referrals, and then to your products or service. It may be more comfortable for you to lead with your products or service, but you run the risk of backing yourself into a corner. If someone is not interested in trying your products or service, how in the hell can you say to them, you're not interested in what our company sells? Well, you should take a look at starting a business that revolves around the very thing you're disinterested in. You can't.
So hold on a second. That there, I mean, Tupperware, we refer to that as the mountaintop theory. And that is start with recruiting, go down to dating a party, go down to products, go down to referrals. And if that hits the way she describes it, just completely hits the nail on the head in the most simplest terms, you know, and it is, if you, I'm amazed. There is somebody that's been on my team in the past, and she would go to a party where nobody would show up, and they would have maybe $100 in sales, and she would recruit the host. And I'm like, because if I had a party and nobody showed up and we didn't have any sales, I don't think I'd be thinking about joining a business. But she could do it, you know. And the main reason why was because she'd already planted that seed. She had already started with sorry, they're cutting
Did he
their
fall?
no, but a big branch just fell down, and I'm wondering if it just hit our fence. We have like it's a goofy fence back there, but anyways, okay, focus. So, but because she like laid the groundwork for you know, for the recruiting, then when nobody showed up, it actually gave her a great opportunity to sit there and have a face-to-face conversation with her about the recruiting, and spin the whole nobody showed up thing into, well, you still have all these opportunities to get in front of your friends and family, the people that couldn't make it here today. Because usually the people were like, you know, oh, I can't, you know, I've got a soccer game and I've got this. And it was like those type legitimate excuses about having something else going on. And so she would tell her, you know, and talking to her would be like, hey, this is great. So these 5 people that you just listed off, let's call them and reach out to them and see, you know, if they'd be willing to do a starter. And she would get them started that way. And I was always like, oh, wow, like it was interesting, but yeah.
Well, and I think Tupperware has made it way easy for us to start with the business now with the $15 kit.
Yeah.
Because if somebody wants, I mean, if they call you or you see them and they want a product, you can go straight to, listen,
Yeah.
you know, you can get it for 25%. If you intend to, I always say, if you intend to buy more Tupperware in the future, you can get everything at 25% off at least. And they're like, oh, and then I'm like, and if you really want a discount, we have this for $109, and you're going to get almost $500 worth of stuff plus the discount. And yeah, so it makes it really easy, and you already know they want something, so you're not going to like talk them out of wanting bowl. You just are trying to get them to want more. So
yeah, awesome.
Where am I? Don't leave rambling voicemails. It's likely you'll get lots of voicemails when you initially reach out to people in your network with a prearranged time to talk. I beg you not to make the rookie mistake of leaving a long, rambling message filled with info about your exciting biz that you erroneously think will entice that person to call you back. Be brief, be breezy, and make sure to let them know you'll be calling them back if you don't hear from them. Hey, Jane, it's Rami. Sorry I missed you, but I'd love to pick your brain about something. I'm available to chat tonight at 2 o'clock or tomorrow morning at 3 o'clock. Give me a call. If I don't hear from you, I'll give you a jingle tomorrow. Thanks. Talk soon. If you want to pick their brain, here's where you're available and you'll call them again. Bam. Lead with what's in it for them. Many business builders, including me when I started, begin conversations with products by launching right into what you're doing with Company X, the facts, figures, and virtues of the company and its products or services. But I soon learned that's not the best way to immediately connect emotionally with the people we're talking to. As I honed my prospecting skills, I saw how people would become more attentive and engaged in the conversation when I started connecting the dots between what I had to offer and what it could do for them. So I started leading my conversations with what's in it for them, WIIFT, and how people just like them were building a business like this. With this approach, the people I was talking to were more present and invested in what I was saying from the get-go. The conversations were also more efficient, natural, and more interactive. They were true conversations instead of monologues, and my closing rate went up. I was onto something. Then I started coaching our personal team members on this, and they reported the same thing. Then I introduced it to our team. Our peeps reported not only more success with this approach, but they were enjoying the conversations more. And if we're having fun, we're going to want to do it more. So the number of reach outs increased, which led to more customers and more business partners. So let's talk about how to lead with WIFT. It starts with a simple exercise to do before I reach out to someone. I figure out a person's pain points and how our business can reduce or eliminate her pain. It's that simple. It only adds about 2 minutes to your prep work, and it's so worth it. Here's how it works. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle to make 2 columns. On the top of the left-hand column, write pain. On the right, no pain. Then think about all the possible pain points in her life and how business could provide relief. From there, you'll be able to craft your opening talking points for your conversation. Let's explore what the list could look like for a couple of different types of people. Say you want to reach out to your friend Jane, who's a stay-at-home mom who used to be a high-powered corporate chick. Maybe she's mentioned her pain points to you. She misses grown-up time and that her head is turning to mush. She hates having to ask her husband before she spends money on herself, or perhaps the family finances are really smarting with just one paycheck. She feels like she lost a piece of herself when she left her career. Now let's talk about your business, how your business could reduce her pain. It could give her the ability to still be the hands-on mom that she's been, while also making it possible for her to build something of her very own. The business could help her create an extra stream of income that she might need, whether it's to pay for the kids' activities or her shameless shoe fund. Plus, ours is a super fun business that can provide a much needed grown-up social diet. So this is what her list might look like. Pain, Mrs. making her own money, Mrs. time with grown-ups, Mrs. identity outside of wife and mom. No pain. Bring in an income, social collaborative business, can have it all, hands-on mom. So how do you take the golden nuggets on this list and turn that into an authentic and compelling conversation opener when she answers the phone? How about something like this? Hey, Jane, it's Romy. You've been on my mind a lot lately. Do you have a few minutes for me to pick your brain about something? I need about 5 minutes. Is this a good time? If she says it's not a good time, then you book another time. You say, no problem. Let's work around your schedule. I'll give you a shout tonight. Which works better, 8 or 9? But if she says, sure, what's up? You lead with WIIFT. I've been thinking of you a lot because I remember us talking about how you love being there for your kids, but you really miss having something of your own for your sanity, your identity, and your bank account. I thought of you because I'm now working with so many women just like you who are spending part-time hours every week building lucrative businesses of their own while still being hands-on moms with flexible schedules. And they're able to pay for their kids' activities, fill college and vacation funds, and even in some cases replace income from big old corporate careers like the one you had. I have no idea if this would be a good fit for you, but it might be a way for you to have your cake and eat it too. I'd love to tell you what I'm up to. Do you see how it's all about her? If you're Jane and that's your life, and I pointed out to you what some of your pain is and how I could alleviate it, don't you think the least you would say is, okay, I'm curious, tell me what you're doing? Then from there, you would continue with some short introductory message points about your company, then transition to your personal story and key attributes of your business and products or service. And then, so Jane, are you intrigued enough to want to learn more and see if this might be a good fit for you? Notice my posture and language made it clear that I'm really not attached to the outcome, whether or not Jane says yes or no. I'm just sharing and helping Jane figure out if this might be a good fit for her. Let's do another example of the pain, no pain analysis and intro so you get the hang of this. Let's say you know someone, let's call her Dana, who's a lawyer and a mom who is undeniably on a hamster wheel. You've seen her rushing to her kids' sporting events, often getting there late, looking harried and tired. You don't know her very well, you're acquaintances, but you can make educated guesses about her pain. She wants more flexibility, she's exhausted. She might spend time thinking about how she could possibly escape from the corporate grind, but can't figure out how to make it happen when her family needs her lawyer income. Her list, pain. Tired of the impossible schedule, needs the big lawyer income, doesn't love the pressure at work. No pain. wants flexibility for her family, can grow a replacement income, add more fun to her life. The conversation opener would be something like, Dana, I see what you do. You're a superwoman with your big job and your kids. I wanted to tell you about my business because I work with so many working moms like you who are juggling kids and demanding jobs. They're building side businesses that are growing big enough to give them more choices, including being able to leave the corporate grind. I'd love to tell you what I'm up to. Even if it's not for you, I have a feeling you're going to know people I can help. Once you get the hang of this approach, you can do it for anyone you want to reach out to. Nurses, teachers, real estate professionals, you name it. But you may be wondering how to use this approach if you haven't talked to the person in a long time or don't know someone well. If you're Facebook friends, you can glean a lot of information from her posts. Here's a real life example of how I helped a team member do a little sleuthing to figure out potential pain points. Wait a second. Sorry. Our team member, Julie, learned to reach out to her sorority sister, Lynn, who lives in Louisville. She hadn't talked to Lynn in more than a decade and didn't know what to say to her. I asked her what she did know about Lynn. I can tell she's got a real successful career now in finance or accounting or something with money. And she's always had the best personality and was a real go-getter. I told Julie that I bet she knows more about Lynn through her Facebook posts. We scrolled through Lynn's wall and were able to confirm she likes to travel. She's into the nicer things in life, having posted about killer shoes and sporting some gorgeous jewelry in her pictures. We also learned she has a high schooler who might be going to college in a few years. While we didn't know for sure what Lynn's pain was, we were able to create the list to give Julie some good introductory message points. Pain, expensive taste, kids going to college. No pain. Sorry. More income, fill college fund. It's not much, but it's all Julie needed to get ready to reach out. Since Julie didn't have Lynn's phone number, she reached out through a Facebook message in an attempt to set up a call. Lynn, we haven't talked in ages, but I love keeping up with you through your posts. I'm thrilled to see that life has been so good to you. I'd love to pick your brain for my business since I have a feeling you might know people in Louisville I could help. I work with lots of women who love earning money for travel funds, shameless shoe funds, or even to pay for college. I know your son will be here real soon, real soon, so I might even want to learn more for yourself. I'd love to set up a time to chat for 10 minutes. Well, better make it 20 so we can catch up properly. I'm available tomorrow night at 8 or 8:30 or Thursday at noon. Tell me which one works and the best number to reach you. Notice that I coached Julie to give Lynn times when she likely would be engulfed in her corporate day job, so Julie offered 2 evening times and 1 during a possible lunch break. Lynn responded to Julie that day. They had a terrific conversation, and Julie was able to make it clear what could be in it for Lynn. Lynn wasn't personally interested since she loved her lucrative job, but her inheritance provided more than enough for her family. But she connected Julie with a friend of hers with similar taste for the finer things and 2 kids in high school who ended up joining the team, and Lynn became a customer. Even if you're not able to sleuth out what someone's life looks like, you can rely on what you know about that person from the past. I hadn't talked to my childhood friend Shelley for years, yet I vividly remember her ambition was apparent even at a young age, how she went after what she wanted and made things happen. She also had a magnetic personality. People loved being around her. Even though I didn't have pain points, I reached out to Shelley, leading with how I'm working with people that remind me of her. I didn't have a phone number, so I messaged her on Facebook. Shelley, I know we haven't talked live in ages, but I've been thinking about you a lot lately since I'm working with people who remind me so much of you. I'd love to pick your brain for my business. You've always been someone who is driven and get things done, and you've got a magnetic personality. These are things I look for in my business. I have no idea if what I do will be a good fit for you, but if it is, you can have a heck of a lot of fun spending part-time hours building something pretty substantial. And if it's not, I have a feeling you'll know some other dynamic go-getters who might be a good fit. When can you hop on the phone for 5 or 10 minutes so I can fill you in? I'm free tonight after 8 or tomorrow at noon. Shelley responded, telling me she was intrigued to learn more and catch up. When she and I talked, I learned about her pain points and was able to explain how this business could reduce her pain of long hours at her stressful job and not enough extra money to splurge on herself. Ultimately, she joined our team. Remember, if you simply can't figure out someone's pain and all you have to go on is their profession or that they're a mother or a woman, don't worry about it. You can always say, I know so many people just like you who've been successful doing what I do, so I thought you'd want to take a look and decide if this might be a good fit for you too. Since I have no doubt there are people in your company just like them, this is an authentic statement. All right, get in action.
Hey,
Now it's your turn.
hold on a second.
Okay.
So, oh my gosh, there's so many good things in this, and it's not even all word choices. Like they're half word choices is what I pull out of it, right? And so the first thing that I was looking at, and it says, think about, okay, so everyone on this call has recruits, like has people underneath them, right? Whether or not whatever your title is right now, it's insignificant, but you have recruited before, right? So think about working with a new recruit, or even just kind of working with yourself, and the first thing they talk about is figure out a person's pain points and how this business can reduce or eliminate their pain, step one, right? And so you can work through that, or work through it with somebody, work through it with your upline if you're doing it for yourself, work it through it with somebody in your unit if you're working with them, right? And then she goes on, and I just highlighted the starters, right? So once you figure out the pain point, it's, hey, I've been thinking about you a lot because I remember us talking about dot dot dot, right? Whatever it is, whatever that pain point is. I thought of you because I'm now working with so many people who are just like you, dot dot dot, right? And just kind of just to kind of, and I was like, gosh, that's really good. And even just the way to wrap it up, and I do that, like, this is something I don't use these words, but a lot of times, especially if I'm approaching somebody that is in my personal circle, or somebody I know that I see all the time through the school or whatever, I don't want it to be awkward if they decide to say no to me. And so I'll say something like, listen, you can totally tell me no, and that's okay. I just was thinking about you, and this is this is a big compliment, and I say, I think this is a compliment when people ask these sort of things to me, and you can tell me no, it's completely okay. But I would feel awful if I found out later that this would have been something that you could have used in your life or for your family, and I didn't say anything. And so that's kind of my way of kind of softening that by giving them the permission to say no. And so she says, I have no idea if this would be a good fit for you, but it might be a way for you to have your cake and eat it too. I'd love to tell you what I'm up to or whatever. But that's her sort of like, I have no idea if this is going to work for you. And she says this over and over again, even there, to the person that she reached out to. I don't know, and also the word choice is, I know many people just like you who have been successful doing this, so I thought of you, and I thought you'd maybe want to take a look. And then another time she's like, I don't know if this would be a right fit for you, but even if it's not, I'm sure you probably know people that are XYZ, whatever it is you're looking for. So just pulling out those like word choice starters and enders, because one of the things, like when it came to playing games at parties, I didn't like playing games. It was not my thing. I felt like I felt kind of sleazy doing it. I didn't like it, right? Until I figured out a way out of it, right? Because that was the thing. It was like you're sitting there and you're playing this game. Nobody really wants to play your game, right? And then you're just kind of like awkwardly standing there holding your bowl of smidgets, and you're like, okay, like, right? And so once I figured out a way out of it, and so for example, in this midget game in particular, that was my go-to. I played it almost at every party. In this midget game in particular, I would be holding it. I'm like, that's okay. I said, as I go on further, you're probably going to find things on your wish list that maybe you would like to get for free or half price. I'm going to have my bowl with me at checkout, and then you can take one then. Or should you decide you want to date a party, I'm going to go ahead and give you a smidget. So even if you don't grab it now, that way you will get some free rewards, and so that was my way of kind of like segueing out of this. So that little one liner at the end, I don't know if this would be a right fit for you, but I thought about you, right? That's your segue out of it. Should she be like you do your thing, and then she's like, and you can tell she's like, doesn't know what to say, doesn't want to hurt your feelings, right? So I loved all those like beginners and ending like word choices, and leaving it up to us to figure out what the pain points are and fill in the blanks. And sometimes it's easier to do that with somebody else. So that's why I was saying, if you're working with your downline, right? And you are the person that's helping them kind of flesh that out. And then if it's you're wanting to implement these and you're struggling, talking to your upline or sideline, somebody that you partner with in the business, and just be like, okay, so I know this girl and I adore her, and these are the things I love about her, these are the things that I think she'd like about the business, and these are the things that I know via Facebook friendship phone conversation, whatever is going on in her life, and just have that person kind of help you flesh it out. Because sometimes you kind of just like, you can't see the forest through the trees, right? You're kind of so in it, you're just like, I don't know what to say, and I don't want to be awkward. So I love these couple pages, and I love that she kind of gave just a couple random examples of things that we run into all the time, right? Somebody that we knew from our past, maybe a past job, maybe school, whatever, and you just adored them, and you see them on Facebook and they're just still just as awesome, but you're like, how do I approach somebody that I haven't talked to in real life for years and I haven't even seen in 20 years, and so she gives that example there. So these pages are pages to definitely like just kind of dog ear and keep going back and referring to, I think, personally. So I just want to add that.
I'm going to read some of this stuff in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Becky says, the sound of voice is highly important, especially now. I know I really miss talking to people, just the sound of people's voices. And Diane Smith says, I'm bad about the phone. I look at it this way, though. If I waited until I was in a setting where I could talk to somebody, I would never do it. So if I reach out at all, I count it as a victory. That's very true.
Yes.
Yeah. And Christy had to get off.
But she can't wait for the recording.
Chris had to go. So, yeah, I was going to say something. Oh, I just need, like, sometimes you hear, she says all the time, like, I want to pick your brain.
Mhm.
That's not something I would ever say,
Right.
but I like that kind of thing. So I have to find something that is
Well,
more
even just saying, I want your opinion. I value your opinion and I want your opinion on it. I mean, it doesn't, yeah,
yeah,
there's other ways, but I do like, I like what she's saying. Like, I want input, feedback.
yeah,
Well, and what she's doing by that, it doesn't matter what the phrase is that you're using, whether it's I pick your brain or I want your feedback, you're engaging them and telling them that you value their opinion
Mhm.
and that it starts a conversation rather than, hey, why aren't you selling Tupperware for me?
Right. They put their
Or
guard up,
join my
right?
team. I think we'll have fun. Like it exactly. So you're working, you've completely circumvented any walls or any defensive mechanisms they have, because when you first reach out to talk to them, even the word she's using is kind of like, okay, I know Ellen sells Tupperware, so my guess is
Like,
she's
hey, girl.
girl.
dollars. So it completely, when you start it with I want to pick your brain or I need your opinion or I value your opinion, it's like, oh, she's not going to try and get me to sell Tupperware. Then you can hit him with that later.
One of the best Facebook parties I ever had was on my VIP group. And these are people who are all well aware of what I do because that's why they're on the group. But I said I had a new party and I said it like it was like a business thing. I said, I have a new party platform that I'm trying for Facebook. I want to do it on here because I value everybody's on this page's opinion. And I need you to give me feedback on whether you like the post or if there's something else I should do. Oh my God, they loved it. They were like, oh, you should use this picture. I think it would be better if you did this. And in the meantime, they're buying stuff they didn't even know they wanted, which worked for me too. I have to go a minute, I guess.
That's fine. All right. So I will, I'll keep reading. Rule number 13. If it's a no to the business, ask for referrals. If someone isn't personally interested in the business, make sure to immediately pivot to a request for referrals. Simply say, I totally get that this is not for you, Maggie. It's not for everyone, but I'd love to pick your brain about your network since I have a feeling you likely know some people I could help. Do you have a couple more minutes so I can describe exactly who I'm looking for, and we'll see whose name pop in your head? Notice a couple of things. One, I asked for permission to continue, which is not only good manners, but it also continues the interactivity of the conversation. And number two, I planted the seed that names are going to pop in her head. When someone asks for referrals, I've had much more success when I'm specific about what I'm looking for. I used to be so vague in my request for connections, asking who they know, who had big personalities or were go-getters or real dynamos. I rarely was given any names, but when I started getting referrals, when I got real specific about who I was looking for, I focused on certain demographics. So it was easier for people to think of people who they knew fit that certain description. So here's what I always say now. here's what I'm looking for. I begin with the first demographic. I describe is always something. First demographic, I don't know. I describe is always something just like the person I'm talking to. This is because I want her to hear it again, how someone just like her does well in this business. If I'm talking to a teacher, I'll say, I really love working with teachers because they're so good at being coachable and teaching others to do this really simple business. Teachers love making more money because they're underpaid, and they love having the option down the road to spend more time with their kids rather than other people's. Plus, this business is great insulation from the pink slip. When I cover the other demographics that I'm always looking for, I also absolutely love working with stay-at-home moms who need flexibility with their kids, but really need extra stream of income. It's possible to grow a lucrative business while still being a hands-on mom. I also always describe the corporate mom that's tied to the hamster wheel. Then, because of John's and my success and the success of many others on our team, I add a request for couples who are entrepreneurial, successful, and might want to add another smart business to their professional portfolio. I get to work with a number of couples who together, each working just part-time hours every week, are able to build these incomes that are fully funded college funds or retirement funds, and just opening a whole wealth of possibilities for them. If someone doesn't come up with a specific referral for me right on the phone, I will simply say to them, it might be hard for you to think of people right now. Would it be helpful if I sent you a brief email summarizing what we talked about and exactly who I'm looking for? You'll be able to easily forward it to anyone you can think of and copy me in on it. What does that sound good? I've been connected with loads of referrals this way. In the email, I not only briefly summarize what our business is, but I also include a bulleted list of the demographics I'm looking for. And guess who I describe in the very first bullet? The person I'm writing to. Of course, so she can be reminded that people just like her are building our business, and to entice her to think about it for herself. When people offer referrals, make sure to ask a couple questions about the person they're connecting you with so you can identify her pain points and prepare a compelling conversation opener.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. I'm going to have to reread that again.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not good at emails anyway,
Mhm.
but to me, that would be one I wouldn't open. I mean, or I wouldn't read it.
Possibly. I mean, possibly, because if somebody might say, yeah, go ahead and send me an email just to kind of like stop it and be like, I'm just not comfortable, you know?
Yeah. But
You
the
could
other thing-
always, the one thing about that though, Jenny, is it's not like a cold call telemarketer type email, because I go down through my email list and I just delete all that stuff automatically. But if you've talked to them or had a conversation, you can always circle back. Like I'll send you an email, and how about we follow up via phone like a couple of days after that or something.
Well, and I guess if you're asking them for the referrals and they're gonna forward the email, people are gonna, like, I would open an email from a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But also you're kind of taking the pressure off of them because they can forward like that. Like me personally, I would forward that email to my friend and like even ask them before I introduce her to whoever it is that's doing this pitch, right? Because I don't want my friend to feel like I'm putting her on the spot. I don't like to be put on the spot, so I try not to put other people on the spot, and so but one of the things that's really smart about this, right, just like how she says she keeps describing the first person in whatever the first demographic is she talks about. If I got this, right, and I'm reading this, I'm thinking about my own interactions with Pam Cliff before I started in Tupperware, right? And so if she sent me an email like this of the people that she's looking for, and she describes me in the first point, right? As I'm looking through this email and I'm thinking about these other demographics, I'm just like, well, so if I started, these are people that might be underneath me. Right. And I would kind of my mind would kind of start going there. And so yeah, I think it's pretty smart. I think you are going to have some people, definitely, Jenny, that are going to be like, I'm not looking at that. Right. You're definitely going to have some of those people. But even just like if 1 out of 10 people that you send this to opens it and actually connects you with somebody, it's kind of a win, you
Well, I
know?
guess an email no isn't any different than any other kind of no. So if you
Right,
get 1 out of 10, you still have, yeah.
right.
And you don't have to listen to them say no. You don't even know they actually just deleted your email without even looking at it. You can-
Exactly. It's a silent no.
Wait a minute, that might be a
But
really good idea. I gotta go. I gotta email some people.
it's so much less painful.
It is. It is so much less painful because you'd be like, oh, it must have gone in your spam. That's weird. You know? All right. We only have like one more. Let's go ahead and just like power through this last rule. I can't believe we got this chapter. That's crazy.
You want me to read it or you want to read it?
Yeah, you read it. I'm not.
Okay. Rule 14, don't end the conversation without talking about becoming your customer. Whatever you do, don't let go of that person without segueing to the products. You'll develop your own easy transition to a product or service discussion. If you're representing nutritional products, maybe your transition question is, if you could have more energy to do the things you want to do, would that make a difference in your life? Because I work in skincare, I've always transitioned by asking, before I let you go, I've got to ask you, if you could change one thing about your skin, what would it be? To date, I've only had one person say, nothing, I'm absolutely in love with my face. It turned out that she has had every plastic surgery and outpatient procedure known to man. I don't think the woman's face moves. Everyone else, however, offers up a complaint. And guess what? I've got the solution for what they're bitching about. So find your transition question that works for you and your products and ask it every single time. If you're unable to close the sale during that conversation, remember rule number 8 and set up the next appointment within 24 to 48 hours to get their questions answered and take their order. Never, I repeat, never let them make their own purchase. People will invariably forget or do it wrong or opt out of the auto ship program if your company has one. Instead, walk them through the purchase process. It's not only a great customer service, but also ensures you actually acquire the customer in the right way. Wash, rinse, repeat. These are the initial conversations you'll have with people, lots and lots of people. You'll get really good at it the more conversations you have. You'll get more comfortable and more authentic. You'll become a better listener and learn how to make a compelling case for WIIFT. You won't be a prospecting slut and you'll have fun, I promise. But having thousands of introductory conversations alone won't get you to a 7-figure income. You have to guide someone who's intrigued enough to want to learn more through the decision-making process. Want to know how? Let me guide you to the next step. You can turn the page now or tomorrow at 10:30. Which one works for you? Isn't she funny?
Isn't she funny?
Isn't she
So I was thinking about this, about the question, about what kind of question we could ask, right? To lead to the products. And I thought, before I let you go, what is one thing that would make your life easier in the kitchen? Or it could be, what is one thing, what's the biggest thing you struggle with in the kitchen? Like you could ask a question like that, you know? And I can envision people, because I was just like, okay, so when I've kind of asked questions like this before, the answers I get is, what would make my life easier in the kitchen is if somebody cooked the food, right? If somebody, you know, whatever, like a lot of times that's it. So if I had a personal chef, if I had this, if I had that, right? And my answer for that would be meal prep. Do it on the day you got energy, and then you can just heat something up, right? But yeah, so I was thinking about what our questions would be. I see somebody talking in the chat. I think it's Becky.
Becky says, if you could change one thing about your kitchen, what would you change?
Right. Yeah, you then you might run into cupboards. They're gonna be like, "Oh, I hate my countertops," and you're like, "I don't care about your countertops, lady. I want to sell you Tupperware."
I get that. Let's cover them up with a bunch of
A bunch of Tupperware.
Well, or join my team and earn money to redo your kitchen.
Oh, there you go. Oh, Jeff. He's on it today.
Look at you.
Yeah, so it is. It's kind of, but there's lots of different things that we could ask, especially if we want to gear it towards a specific product, right? And so, like, if it was modular mates, maybe something along the lines of, you know, like, so, you know, tell me what would make your kitchen more organized, or what's something, you know, something along those lines. I hate that my Tupperware is pushing out my glassware, literally. I have scars from this morning. That's funny. Why do you have glassware, girl?
Get rid of it.
We'll take care of that.
It's leftover.
It does
Seems wrong
hurt.
to just throw it away. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, it was my excuse to throw it away because it's like I opened my cupboard to get my flask, and this dessert cup just falls out, shatters all over the counter and the floor, And I noticed I have like these things on my arm. And it's like my arm. Whatever.
Yeah, Becky, I'm with you. I don't like glassware because James puts his dishes in the sink and he just drops them in. So I try to have everything plastic. The glass sits on the counter. Like if I have a wine glass or a rocks glass, it'll just like sit on the counter. It doesn't go in the sink. But that's all we have, this glass.
I posted yesterday a picture. We did all kinds of painting yesterday. So when we were done, I literally sat down. I'm like, can I just post, here's what we did, time to chill. And then I posted a picture of my empty stemless Tupperware wine glass. So somebody actually said, is that a Tupperware wine glass? I'm like, yep, stemless wine glass. I said, you ought to try it. So people notice
Yes,
the
exactly.
dumbest things in a picture.
I know, and they notice. They definitely do. All right. Well, awesome. So next week we're on chapter 6. She's interested. Now what? Awesome, everybody. Well, I hope you have a great week. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Guys.